What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get right into it. Sean Strickland has once again made headlines, this time for voicing his frustration with filming promotional content for the UFC. In a recent Instagram story, the outspoken middleweight contender openly criticized the process, calling it disingenuous and heavily controlled. According to Strickland, he is not a fan of working with the UFC's media team because he feels his words are constantly edited, filtered, or removed altogether. As he explained, the organization prefers a polished version of fighters rather than allowing them to speak freely. Strickland emphasized that his unfiltered personality rarely makes it into the final cut, which leaves him feeling misrepresented. While on his way to film content, Strickland admitted that he finds the entire process frustrating. He described the experience as fraudulent, suggesting that the UFC selectively chooses what parts of his commentary to show while cutting out anything controversial or unscripted. From his perspective, this defeats the purpose of filming authentic content in the first place. Strickland went on to say that if the UFC already knows what kind of message it wants to promote, they should simply tell him exactly what to say. In his view, the constant filming becomes pointless when fighters are not allowed to be themselves. He sarcastically suggested that instead of pretending the content is natural, the UFC could just provide him with lines, record them, and move on. Despite the criticism, Strickland acknowledged that he understands why the UFC needs content. Promotional videos, YouTube clips, and B-roll footage are essential for marketing fights and building storylines. However, he believes the process could be far more honest if fighters were allowed to speak openly without heavy editing. This isn't the first time Sean Strickland has clashed with the UFC's approach to media and promotion. Known for his raw honesty and unapologetic attitude, Strickland has built a fan base that appreciates his authenticity, even when it puts him at odds with the organization. As the UFC continues to balance brand image with fighter personalities, Strickland's comments once again highlight the ongoing tension between authenticity and controlled promotion in modern MMA. Before we continue, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all our latest content. Moving on to another news. Justin Gaethje has shared his thoughts on Arman Tsarukyan's current standing in the lightweight division, making it clear that he believes Tsarukyan's situation is largely the result of his own actions outside the octagon. Speaking with New York Post Sports, Gaethje addressed recent controversies involving Tsarukyan, including incidents such as his altercation with Dan Hooker at the weigh-ins, and explained why the UFC may be hesitant to move forward with him as a title challenger. Gaethje acknowledged that, from a purely competitive standpoint, Tsarukyan is arguably the most deserving contender for a championship opportunity. His performances inside the cage have proven that he belongs at the top of the division. However, Gaethje emphasized that fighting ability alone is not enough at the highest level of the sport. According to Gaethje, the UFC invests an enormous amount of money, time, and resources into promoting title fights. When a fighter is positioned for a championship bout and then pulls out at the last moment, particularly due to issues such as weight cut problems, it creates serious complications for the promotion. Gaethje pointed out that while legitimate injuries are unavoidable and understandable, failing to make weight or withdrawing under unclear circumstances is something the organization does not take lightly. Gaethje admitted that he does not know all the details surrounding Tsarukyan's withdrawal from a previous title opportunity, nor does he believe the public is fully aware of what truly happened behind the scenes. However, he stressed that regardless of the specifics, such situations inevitably damage a fighter's standing with the UFC. At the elite level, reliability and professionalism are just as important as talent. He explained that from a business perspective, it makes little sense for a major organization to repeatedly take risks on a fighter who has already caused significant disruptions. When the UFC commits to a major fight, any last-minute issues can jeopardize entire events, sponsorships, and promotional campaigns. Gaethje concluded by saying that Tsarukyan's circumstances ultimately explain why things have unfolded the way they have. While a fight between the two was once a real possibility, timing and trust play major roles in matchmaking. As Gaethje put it, time will ultimately determine how Tsarukyan's path forward unfolds. Moving on to another news. Jon Anik has recently come to the defense of Paddy Pimblett while also offering a candid assessment of what he believes are some of the UFC's biggest structural issues. During a wide-ranging discussion, the longtime UFC commentator outlined changes he would make to improve the overall product, and many fans have found themselves agreeing with his perspective. According to Anik, the UFC's biggest problem right now is simple overload. He explained that modern fight cards have become excessively long, often stretching close to 8 hours, with as many many as 15 fights. Even for hardcore fans, that kind of runtime can be exhausting. Anik believes the solution is straightforward: shorten the cards. He suggested limiting events to around 5 hours, capping them at roughly 10 fights, and being far more selective when signing fighters from Dana White's Contender Series. In his view, these changes alone would significantly improve the viewing experience and make events more engaging from start to finish. During the same conversation, Anik also made it clear where he stands on Paddy Pimblett, and he did not hold back. He openly stated that he is a big fan of Pimblett and strongly disagrees with the criticism surrounding his rise. While online fans have been quick to roast Pimblett following the release of recent shadowboxing footage, Anik dismissed the internet breakdowns entirely. Many critics have pointed to Pimblett's unconventional boxing fundamentals, arguing that a fighter like Justin Gaethje should never lose to someone who moves that way. Anik, however, sees things differently. From Anik's perspective, results and momentum matter far more than viral clips. Pimblett continues to win, continues to draw attention, and continues to meet every expectation the UFC places in front of him. Anik emphasized that Pimblett is 7-0 in the UFC and is even entering his next fight as a betting favorite, which speaks volumes about how oddsmakers and insiders view his chances. Anik also praised Pimblett's ability on the microphone, calling him a master communicator. He noted that while Conor McGregor remains the gold standard for talkers in MMA, Pimblett consistently delivers authentic, thoughtful, and entertaining responses that resonate with fans. According to Anik, Pimblett could have joined the UFC much earlier in his career, but chose to develop properly before stepping onto the biggest stage. Ultimately, Anik made it clear that he has little patience for the ongoing criticism. While he respects Justin Gaethje deeply and looks forward to the matchup, he believes Pimblett has earned his opportunity every step of the way. Moving on to another news. The UFC heavyweight division is once again buzzing with speculation as uncertainty continues to surround Tom Aspinall's status. With the interim heavyweight champion sidelined, reports suggest the UFC is exploring several contingency plans, including a potential interim heavyweight title fight that could dramatically reshape the division. One of the most intriguing possibilities being discussed is a matchup between Cyril Gane and reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira. While nothing has been officially confirmed, multiple insiders have floated the idea of Pereira moving up to heavyweight to compete for an interim title. Pereira himself has been vocal about his desire to test the waters at heavyweight, openly campaigning for the opportunity. Adding fuel to the speculation, Tom Aspinall recently described the potential matchup as a compelling stylistic fight, noting that both men bring elite striking and unique physical attributes that could make for a fascinating contest. If the fight were to materialize, it could take place as early as March, or possibly at the highly anticipated White House event rumored for June 2026. Either scenario would open the door to massive implications for the UFC, including the possibility of Pereira chasing a historic third division championship, an achievement that would further cement his legacy as one of the most accomplished combat sports athletes of his era. As the discussion around Pereira's heavyweight ambitions continues to grow, Jon Jones has now inserted himself directly into the conversation. The former light heavyweight champion and current heavyweight title holder sent a clear message to Pereira on social media, acknowledging the Brazilian's rise while issuing a firm warning. Jones referenced his history of defeating legendary fighters from Pereira's home country and suggested that he would welcome adding another elite name to his resume. In his message, Jones implied that while Pereira may be eager to avenge past losses suffered by fellow Brazilian greats, stepping into the cage with him would come at a steep price. His tone made it clear that he views Pereira as a dangerous challenge, but also as another potential milestone in his already historic career. With multiple moving pieces in the heavyweight division, the UFC now finds itself in a position where several blockbuster matchups are within reach. Whether Pereira makes the leap to heavyweight, faces Cyril Gane, or ultimately crosses paths with Jon Jones, the coming months could define the next chapter of the division and deliver some of the biggest fights in modern UFC history. Moving on to another news. Joaquin Buckley is once again turning up the pressure on Shavkat Rakhmonov, renewing his call-out and escalating the rivalry as Rakhmonov continues his recovery from injury. The situation has drawn significant attention from fans, particularly after Buckley referenced controversial remarks Rakhmonov allegedly made toward him on Instagram, adding another layer of tension to an already intriguing potential matchup. The renewed back and forth comes at a time when Rakhmonov and his team are providing regular updates on his comeback. The undefeated undisputed welterweight contender has been sidelined since late 2025 due to injury, with his recovery now extending into 2026. Rakhmonov recently stated that he hopes to return to full fight shape by late February or early March, though he has emphasized a cautious approach following such a lengthy layoff. His head coach, Eduard Bazarov, offered a more conservative outlook in a statement shared on January 14th. According to Bazarov, 1 to 1.5 months of training would not be sufficient to prepare Rakhmonov for elite competition. He suggested that a realistic return to the octagon would likely come no earlier than April, underscoring the team's priority of long-term health over a rushed comeback. Despite the extended absence, Rakhmonov has made it clear that his championship ambitions remain unchanged. He has previously pushed back against critics, including Ian Gary, pointing out that he defeated Gary while dealing with injury and dismissing claims that Gary is the division's top contender. Those comments reinforced the idea that Rakhmonov is focused on title contention rather than taking unnecessary risks upon his return. Meanwhile, Buckley continues to make his case. In a recent interview, he expressed frustration with the current landscape of the welterweight division, describing the difficulty of securing big fights. Buckley stated that he has consistently made himself available and is actively seeking high-profile opponents like Rakhmonov. He emphasized that he stays in shape year-round, remains disciplined in training, and is prepared to capitalize the moment an opportunity presents itself. Buckley made it clear that his strategy is simple: stay visible, stay ready, and keep applying pressure. He believes that consistency and persistence will eventually pay off, and when the right fight materializes, he intends to make a decisive statement. As Rakhmonov's comeback timeline becomes clearer, Buckley's repeated callouts only intensify speculation. If the matchup does come together, it could become one of the most talked about fights in the welterweight division when Rakhmonov finally steps back into the cage. Moving on to another news. The UFC has officially revealed a new main event as it continues to finalize its first quarter schedule for the year. The promotion recently confirmed that rising featherweight prospect Kevin Vasquez will headline his first UFC event when he takes on longtime contender Josh Emmett in the main event of the March 14th UFC Vegas card. This matchup represents a significant milestone for Vasquez, who is coming off an outstanding 2025 campaign that also marked his rookie year in the UFC. The young Argentine featherweight quickly made a name for himself with a series of impressive performances that showcased both his striking creativity and composure against experienced competition. Vasquez made an early statement by dominating Sungwoo Choi, followed by a hard-fought decision victory over Danny Silva. He capped off the year in spectacular fashion with a highlight reel spinning back fist knockout of Giga Chikadze, a finish that firmly placed him on the radar as one of the division's most exciting new contenders. Now, at just 24 years old, Vasquez finds himself stepping into the spotlight for the first time as a headliner. The bout against Emmett will not only test his skills over 5 rounds, but also provide a valuable opportunity to prove he belongs among the elite of the featherweight division. On the other side, Josh Emmett enters the fight looking to reassert himself after a difficult 2025. The veteran contender went winless last year, suffering a decision loss to Lerone Murphy before being submitted by Youssef Zalal. Despite those setbacks, Emmett remains one of the most experienced and dangerous fighters in the division, known for his power, durability, and ability to compete at the highest level. Currently, Vasquez is ranked 13th in the featherweight rankings, while the 40-year-old Emmett sits just one spot ahead at number 12. Given their respective positions and career trajectories, the matchup carries major implications for both men. For Vasquez, a win could catapult him into the division's top 10 and solidify his status as a rising contender. For Emmett, the fight represents a crucial chance to halt the momentum of a younger challenger and re-establish himself in the title picture. As the UFC continues to stack its upcoming schedule, this newly announced main event offers a compelling blend of youth versus experience and could play a pivotal role in shaping the future of the featherweight division. Moving on to another news. Max Holloway may be best known for his elite striking and relentless pace, but the former featherweight champion is making it clear that fans should not overlook another possible path to victory when he faces Charles Oliveira at UFC 326. While Holloway enters the bout as the betting favorite to retain the BMF title in his rematch with Oliveira, very few are predicting a submission finish. However, Holloway himself is cautioning fans against completely dismissing that outcome. Holloway's rise to superstardom has largely been built on his high-volume boxing, precision combinations, and legendary cardio. though. Throughout his career, he has overwhelmed opponents on the feet rather than relying on grappling. That reputation has helped shape expectations ahead of UFC 326, where many believe the fight will be decided through striking exchanges. Still, Holloway believes there is more to his game than most people realize. In a recent video shared by his team, the Hawaiian standout openly discussed the idea of submitting Oliveira, one of the most accomplished submission artists in UFC history and a fourth-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Holloway acknowledged that the idea might surprise people, and even joked that his coaches might not appreciate him putting that possibility out into the world. Nevertheless, he embraced the challenge. Holloway explained that from a BMF perspective, there may be nothing more fitting than submitting a fighter who is known almost exclusively for his submissions. Oliveira holds the record for the most submission victories in UFC history, making the notion even more daring. Holloway emphasized that while it may not be the most likely scenario, combat sports are unpredictable, and fighters must always be prepared to capitalize on unexpected moments. He noted that if Oliveira were to make a mistake, or if a scramble opened up an opportunity, anything could happen. Holloway stressed the importance of staying open-minded inside the cage and never ruling out a finish simply because it does not fit the narrative. If Holloway were to submit Oliveira, it would be a historic moment in his career. His last submission victory came back in 2015, nearly a decade ago, making such a finish even more remarkable. As UFC 326 approaches, Holloway's comments add another intriguing layer to a matchup already filled with history, skill, and high stakes, reminding fans that in MMA, even the most unlikely outcomes remain possible.